Hello and welcome to the Other 14 FC podcast. I'm Alex, Crystal Palace fan.
And I'm Tom, a West Ham fan.
Yeah, no sufferer this week or anything like that. Yeah, no.
No,
Okay,
we're back.
That's settled the fucking tone for this pod, I guess. But yeah, we'll go. We move on. This is your podcast for everything not top six. Tired of your team being last on match of the day and not getting the flowers they deserve? Well, that's about change. Tom, what do we have for the listeners this week?
The points and the pints have run dry as Wolves axe Vitor Pereira after a scary showing against Fulham. Brighton had Leeds seeing ghosts with the press. Brentford had their worst nightmare as they conceded from a long throw. And West Ham have returned from the dead to chew on some magpies. How you doing, mate?
I'm all good, thanks. Had a relatively quiet weekend for once, which was quite nice, even though I did quite a bit on both days. But yeah, it was all a lot more chilled compared to our trekking around North London the weekend before. How about yourself?
Yeah, all good, man. Sunday, I must have shaved about 5 years off my life. The stress of that West Ham match, 3-1 sounds so much more comfortable than it was for 90 plus minutes. And then, and then the Chicago Bears did insane game later on. They won 47-42 with scored the last touchdown with like 20 seconds left. They gave up a 20-point lead. It was just like, yeah, by the end of Sunday, I was emotionally, mentally, physically drained.
Mate, West Ham have won a game. You don't have to talk about NFL or any other sports anymore. You can talk about football once again.
It was a rare occasion that West Ham, Dortmund, and Chicago all won on the weekend. So, yeah, brilliant. Jubilant for me.
Mate, I used to have that with my BBL team and my NRL team or like my union team. I'd watch it and like Palace would lose, they would lose, and I'd be like, yeah, fuck me, spawn all the shit teams. It's literally how it goes.
That's how it usually goes for me.
But no one cares about all our other teams or all other shit teams and other shit sports. Let's take a break and get into it because we've got a lot to go through again this week.
Let's do it.
Okay, and we're back. So, Tom, where do you want to start this week? I think probably the Palace game, maybe the Wolves game, Brighton. No other games that I think we should really start with apart from those ones.
No. After those about 8 weeks in a row that we started with Palace, I am putting my foot down and we are starting with West Ham this week. My boys are back.
Go on then. I'll let you have the floor for the next 5 minutes. Say everything you want to say.
Right.
Get it out now.
As I said, this was the most stressful 90 plus minutes. But first off, Nuno got it right for once. He still tinkered a little bit. He played Max Kilman as a right centre back and Todibo as the left centre back when they would usually be switched. That's their natural positions. So he still tinkered a little bit, but he went with a 4-2-3-1. He played a dynamic midfield with good on the ball range of Potts, Mateus Fernandes, Lucas Paqueta. We'll come on to Freddie Potts. I've been desperate to see him.
A lot of praise, hasn't he, out of that game? What's that, third generation Potts for West Ham? It's mad.
Third generation Potts, yeah. So his dad, Steve Potts, played, I think, over 300 games for us in the 90s. Freddie's older brother, Dan Potts, made a few appearances for us in the sort of around 2012-ish. And yeah, now young Freddie has come of age and he's just did not look out of place at all up against what is on paper one of the best midfields in Premier League, if not world football, in Newcastle's Guimaraes, Joelinton, Tonali, three in midfield. And Potts, he didn't overcomplicate things. He got around the pitch. He made crunching tackles when he needed to, but he also just kept things ticking along, dropping into one as an auxiliary third centre back at times to sort of just keep the play going, moving around, spraying some passes here and there. It was just a really, really accomplished performance.
I've heard a few people compare it to Declan Rice's early games for West Ham. Would you agree with that, or was that a bit over?
Well, Declan Rice's early games, he was nowhere near the player that Declan Rice was when he settled into the first team. When Moyes came back and made Declan Rice a midfielder, yeah, similar impact to that. But early Declan Rice, he was playing as a centre back, and yeah, was a decent. I thought he'd go back later to play there, but he's become one of the best midfielders in the world, obviously. And
Mm.
if we got Freddie, like if Freddie Potts can put it together, I'm hesitant to just go, yeah, he's the next Declan Rice. We saw years ago what Reece Oxford looked like on his debut, where he absolutely pocketed Mesut Ozil against Arsenal, and then unfortunately just didn't click for Reece. Injuries got in his way, etc. But West Ham fans have been crying out for Freddie Potts to get a chance. It was purely bizarre from Graham Potter that he played him all pre-season, started him most of the pre-season games, and then refused to start him in the league. And Nuno had to go through his. Someone in the Athletic wrote it interestingly that Nuno's only other job that he started mid-season was the Forest one, and posited that it almost felt like he was using those early games to figure out the team and figure out his lineup, etc. I don't think you should have done that when you had games against Brentford and Leeds that you needed to pick up points in. But
Yeah,
if
true.
if this is the turning point that it felt like during the match, and if he sticks with the lineup and they continue to grow, we've got Burnley next, which is a massive game that would could make things look a lot different down the bottom.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's enough on
that's
West Ham.
another.
Let's move on.
No. We're barely even scratched the surface. Other than Freddie Potts, he's one of our own. He was so unlucky that his goal was disallowed by legit a toe as well. But other star performers in this game, Paqueta and Bowen, were at their absolute best. They were tenacious when they needed to be. This was a very typical exactly what you'd expect from Nuno. Like the team went back and defended the edge of their box where they needed to, but then when
Yeah.
they got the chance to counter and they took when they were at set pieces and stuff, they looked as good as West Ham did in the early days of David Moyes as well. Like that is the same type of football that Moyes was playing and that West Ham fans enjoyed in those early days.
Yeah, I think the main thing I took from it is you guys looked like you had a game plan rather than other games
Hmm.
I've watched this season where it's like I can't tell what's going on here or who's playing well, what they've been sent out to do. I mean, I did text you pretty early on when I saw the Jacob Murphy goal go in, thinking, "Oh, that's going to be a bloodbath for Tom." I'm feeling for him now.
Well, everyone in the stadium felt the same. 26 seconds after Jared Bowen has hit the post after what would have been a beautiful goal, beautiful move as well, like cutting down from the left, and then Bowen cuts it inside and he gets it to the far corner and it hits the post. To concede 26 seconds later, it really felt like, ah, shit, here we go again. Like it's going
Yeah,
to be another one of those games where, but after about 30 seconds of the dejection of conceding, there was a general atmosphere in the stadium this week where there quite often isn't, but there was a rousing sort of support the team, not the regime.
Mhm.
There's obviously been protests, and you might see over my shoulder a scarf that reads "dildos out," referring to the ownership and how they made their money,
One
and
of the best
that
starts
is.
I've ever seen, especially when you pointed out it's actually wrote out in dildos as well.
Yeah,
That is top
yeah,
stuff
it's
there.
class. It's class. Yeah, I had to get that as I walked in, and on the other side it says the team, not the regime, as in and that was just enforced in this match. Was just like everyone get behind the team, get behind Nuno. We can still make our voices heard around the ownership. There was a sit-in protest after. It's more of a dancing protest from some of the fans, celebrating at full time. But yeah, I mean, I think I think we played really, really well in this one. I thought I've got in my notes that it was West Ham 3, Newcastle plus Rob Jones, the referee, 1 because he was
Yeah,
just giving everything for them.
I was gonna say, how do you feel about the overturned penalty? I looked at it and I was like, I think that probably is a pen. I'm not really seeing
Yeah.
enough contact on the ball for it to be overturned. Would you agree or no?
No. Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's definitely a penalty.
Yeah.
I think Tior's kind of just got a toe on the ball, but it's more like the ball's been kicked onto him and then he's taken all of the man.
He's
And
cleared the
then
man
for
out
it,
completely.
and then they had the audacity to give a goal kick for it.
They have go kick off, flipping out. Yeah,
Yeah, because Bowen was screaming like there's got to be a corner, right?
absolute madness. But I
And
think you get
then yeah,
bit of luck with the Paqueta goal because I think Pope should be doing better there. And I got in my notes
oh,
like I've got my notes. Whenever we come up against Nick Pope, he's a fucking wall. Like, he's saving, like, unbelievable things that are, like, going top bins. But against you lot, and especially with that goal, it just seems he flaps at it and it goes basically not through him, but he should be saving it all day long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really like Nick Pope as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, same. I
Like
love
I
him as
see
a
him
keeper.
week in week out. He looks excellent. But he does have these games every now and then. I think Newcastle fans and I think Eddie Howe, with how he was hunting for James Trafford, got in Aaron Ramsdale. I'm not saying Ramsdale's going to take his spot, but you would have expected if James Trafford had been signed that they might have been like, all right, well, actually, we might move on from Pope in a season or so, like, or like see if it give him some proper competition. And because he does have these games every now and then where he just has absolute howlers, yeah, he should have had Paqueta's goal. That's at your near post. You expect your goalkeeper to sort that out, and then also for the own goal, if you watch it and watch him, he's just running all over the place, and it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, okay, it's completely like you don't. I mean, I would still have expected my goalkeeper to have better positioning, and he would have been able to stop that. But he's running like at the edge of the 6 yard box. He's not anywhere near, like backing in towards his goal. He's almost being a bit aggressive, expecting a cross in the air to come in, and that
I
he
think
can
he's
come and
always aggressive.
collect.
He's always aggressive like that, though, isn't he? Like he's one of those ones that will like control his box, which is a good thing, I think, as well. But he's just unlucky
Hmm.
with the own goal. Like I think it's Anne Wan-Bissaka doing wing back things, which I never thought I would be seeing him do so well. In all honesty, I think I touched on that a lot last season. But yeah, I think once you get that goal and just before half time, it's probably giving you even more of a lift than you needed to go into that second half. And then my notes really in the second half is: did anything happen apart from you getting Suchek on the break? Was it just dogged defending really throughout it all?
Yeah, it was very much like, all right, we've got a lead to protect here. At the end of the match, we had six defenders on the
Yeah.
pitch. Like every time Nuno was turned into a sub, it felt like it was another defensive player. But that was the game plan. It was right. We've got a lead to protect. Let's go. Let's defend the box solidly and try and take a chance. And we like on the counter attack, we ended up getting two. Like one of them was disallowed legit from a toe of Suchek, and then the last one they desperately tried to rule it out for some offside that never was, and yeah. Thankfully, we got that because I think we were deserving of a 3-1 victory in this game. Like, it was just a game plan played out to perfection. From a Newcastle perspective, having sort of now been removed from it and looking at it back, I've seen a lot of Newcastle fans sort of suggesting that this might be Eddie Howe's ceiling, that he's taken the team as far as he can.
It's a pretty damaging defeat for Newcastle. There's no way really to look at it, is there, and be like, you can maybe say it's one to forget, but I think they've had too many this season now, been ones to forget if that makes sense. Where they
Yeah,
in the table now, they're not in the
I think they're
strongest
about
position.
13th,
Yeah,
12th, 13th.
it's not what their fans are really expecting. It's not what that team should really be expecting either. Like they see
No.
themselves as going in up against the big dogs in the Premier League, but Eddie Howe isn't really producing it on the field, is he?
No, and they've had really polar opposite form from at St James's and then away. This was another away day struggle for them. They just don't seem to perform when they're on the road, and you can understand the team gets up for it at St James's Park. Like the atmosphere is insane, but if you want to be a team that's competing with those top six, getting into Europe year after year after year, you need to be much more consistent on the road. And our big criticism of them last year was they didn't have the depth. They've made depth signings this year for sure. Like, but they just like they had who was it? Ramsey. Jacob Ramsey came on. Harvey Barnes came on. Alanga came on quite late. Like they had decent quality players come off the bench in this one, and just didn't make struggle to really make any impact.
Yeah, it's just like I said, you feel like is it Eddie Howe's ceiling? Is he gonna get the rest of the season if they are mid-table come January? Probably not. Let's be honest. Like,
I imagine they'll let him see out the season. Like I imagine they'll because I do like the talent they have in the squad. I'm not entirely sure why Voltemado went off at half time. That's one to have a look into, see if we'd be ready for next week, sort of thing. But I think I think they're still good enough that they'll pull away from sort of trouble and they'll get into the top half of the table, but they've got issues that they need to sort out away. It really is the big problem for them. So we'll see. But I think that's probably a situation they'll give him till the end of the season, and then they'll evaluate and go, right, is this the time to make the trigger of the big name move that they've like talked about so much since the takeover.
They've clearly wanted since the takeover. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that cool? Okay, it's much funner talking about West Ham games when you've been battered, but hey ho, at least you're
We
happy.
can go for another half an hour if you want.
I hope you're happy, you sad, sad little man. Cool. Okay, where do you want to move on to? Probably go to the Wolves Fulham game with the news that came out after it.
Yeah. Sorry, Fulham fans. We're probably going to talk about Wolves quite a bit in this.
Yeah, I mean, should we just start with Fulham because they
Yeah. Why not?
they ripped Wolves apart really in this one. Game's over in the first 9 minutes, I'd say, with the Sessegnon goal where they pretty much pass through Wolves' spine. I know it gets a lucky deflection. I can't remember off who it is, but still, it's just direct through the middle. Sessegnon puts it in, and it's like great. That's kind of it for Wolves. Then the red card for Agbadu, and it's just a bit
Mm.
like it's definitely a red, and Wolves aren't coming back from it after that, really, are they?
No, not at all. This looked really, really comfortable for Fulham. Even before the red card, they were creating chances. They were dominating. It was pretty much mostly played in Wolves' defensive half at that point. And yeah, the Sessegnon goal is a really nice move, but it's shocking defending from
It's so
Wolves. They're
bad.
way too aggressive. Just like the Bueno goes out and Agbadu's just all over the shop, and yeah, they just get absolutely played through so easily. And then Sessegnon's just through, and he's got a fairly decent scoring record for Fulham these days, and
Yeah, it's annoying that we let him
you
go.
expect him to score.
It's annoying that we let him go when he was training with us all on pre-season. It's dreadful because he would have fitted in perfectly for us as a second choice. But yeah, then Harry Wilson gets a lovely first-time strike from into left corner from outside the box,
He
and like
doesn't score scrappy goals, does old
doesn't does
Harry
he?
Wilson, does he?
Yeah, he really doesn't. And then yeah, own goal with the counter attack from Session. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
there are a couple other things to talk about for Fulham on this one. Like Kevin was at the beating heart of everything,
yeah,
and
Kevin was
especially in
good.
that first half. Like the combination play on the left between Sessegnon, Iwobi, and Kevin was excellent. And there was at one point, I think it was Sessegnon was just like, get the ball to Kevin, like just give him the ball, and like if we make the right runs around him, give him options, and like he's also got the trickery to like bamboozle defenders as well. So I think that was Kevin's first start in the league, I believe, and that is just like a really promising sign. Something you would expect from your club record signing, but it's just good to see like he's making that impact straight away. Other than Kevin, Kenny Tete could have had a hat trick in this game. It was
Yeah, they were just
very weird.
peppering Wolves' goal the whole game. It seemed it was mad. It actually only finished 3-0.
Yeah, and then Samu Chukwueze came on late on and had a pretty exciting cameo. I think he could have got one or two late on, made a couple
Yeah,
of good chances and that. So yeah,
it's
I think
definitely the
things are
result
looking
Fulham
brighter
needed.
for Fulham.
Yeah, it was a 6 point and Fulham needed it, and they did exactly what they needed to do. And yeah, hopefully it's a lot brighter. I mean, if you look at Fulham's attack with Kevin started now, you got to think Kevin, Iwobi, Smith Rowe. Even though I know he's not done well there, it's like it's surely got to unlock some stuff for them. Do you not agree?
Chukwueze, Wilson,
Yeah,
King, like they've got options now, and if they are firing, then and they've got and the players that come off the bench like Chukwueze in this cameo appearance, if they get them firing and they get them all confident, then yeah, I imagine they'll be firing up the league into sort of mid table in no time.
you'd hope so. But yeah, cool. Yeah, I guess we all move on to Wolves now. I mean, said about the defending being terrible. Wolves fans clearly were not happy at all and have not been happy for a few games. They had 5 attempts to Fulham's 19 in the game. You said it already, but probs no more points for Victor Pierre was my note after the game. And yeah, was it first team to go 10 games of Premier League season with no win? So yeah, it was kind of writing was on the wall after that game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that stat is back to back seasons. I think it's
Oh,
the
so
first
yeah, you're right.
team to which is just crazy. Like obviously, they're Gary O'Neill in charge of that one. He's apparently taken himself out of the running for the job of getting it back, which was just weird to read.
I mean, very smart from him to say no to that, because imagine how toxic it would be if he went back. Because let's be honest, he didn't leave on the best terms with the fans and everything, because it was just infighting between the players. Well, not even infighting between the players. They just seemed everyone was fighting at that point just before he got sacked.
Oh,
Like, it was mad.
yeah, awful. And then so Pereira's gone now. This was he did that thing similar to when Ange in his last game played Awoniyi up top for the first time in like all season. In this one, Pereira dropped João Gomes and Andre in midfield, like the two beating hearts of that run last year where they were winning won 6, 7 games in a row. Like they a lot of Wolves fans. I went to the Reddit and like asked them sort of what the issues have been and who they would want to replace Pereira and that, and they were like, him dropping those two players was legit the last roll of the dice. It was last chance saloon. Got to try and do something to find a spark, but you drop two quality players who give you that spark most like when Wolves have been good, those two have been at the heart of it, and dropping them for this match, just it didn't feel like it was going to be a positive one from the off for Wolves. Like I mean, we talked about it last week. I thought the confrontation with the fans was the sign of the end. You took a little bit of a different. I think I think it's okay from sort of more of a player's perspective. Like when Bowen did it, it was the player going. Like you're not really going to sack the player, but like when the manager's doing it, when he's already on thin ice, it just never looked like it was gonna become rosy again.
Yeah, I think even when we were talking about this, said like hindsight's kind of prove how that gets reviewed in future. And yeah, with him being sacked the next game after a loss, it kind of nothing positive can come out of that at all. Uh, yeah, I mean, writing on the wall, like I said, you see, really, I don't even know what candidates would go for the Wolves job at the moment. I feel like it's going to be an unknown that comes in. Well, an unknown for me, maybe more for a football nerd like yourself. You might have an idea who's going to come in, but I expect a
Well,
random
I'm
Portuguese
si-
name or something.
I'm seeing Eric Ten Hag's name too many times. That would
Fucking
be
hell.
crazy. There's a couple of Wolves fans I spoke to. They kind of think that the season is done already, and that they need to bring someone in for who's going to take them through to the championship. So someone like Michael Carrick has been posited. Maybe Rob Edwards, who's previously in charge of Luton. Like I think he's in charge of Middlesbrough now, but so they would have to pay something to get him out there. But I think Carrick is available. But it, it's a difficult one. It's like it's still it feels so early in the season
That's
that
what I was going to say. It's so early in the season that any manager does go in there. If he is like a Carrick who wants to like cut his teeth at Premier League level, I'm guessing after a successful spell with Middlesbrough, that kind of tailed off towards the end. You don't really want to be going in this early, losing every game, and then coming out of it with more damage than you had going into it.
well, you look at Ruud van Nistelrooy at Leicester last year. He came into that job with quite a bit of buzz around him as a manager. I think he'd done all right in Holland, and he was assistant manager at United. Had a couple of caretaker games at charge of them, and then he went to Leicester, and it was just an abject failure. And you would probably look at this Wolves team as being very similar to that kind of Leicester team, like that. Just it's going to be a massive, massive challenge for anyone to keep them up. Like, so do you want to tie your name to that? Do you want to go on maybe a picking up 10 points from here to the end of the season or something like something really damaging, and then the fans are just like, oh, just want to get rid of you at the end of the season because you haven't shown us anything in this time when all the chips were against you, sort of thing. So it's going to be really, really tough for anyone to take that
Yeah,
job.
100%. Get Big Sam in. Come on, it's time. Bring him out. It's time to.
Well, let's quickly just say for Wolves, I think it's handball from Josh King before the red card.
Oh,
I think his arm is really out there, and in one of the angles, I feel like you can see like a flash of green between the ball and his body when it's hitting his arm, like when it's hitting him. I feel like there's a one angle from the side on, you can see like just a pixel or two of green grass between them, and it's just sort of like I think you give the benefit of the doubt there that where like it probably did come off his arm at some point, even if it maybe touches his chest and rolled slightly onto his bicep. Like I think there's definitely contact with his arm. So I was kind of surprised, but also when you're Wolves and you just know nothing is going for you, like then
Yeah,
the foul is a definite red. Like his
yeah.
last
This
man
is.
challenge is
I think my notes summed it up quite well. And was it a red card? Yes, red card, but Prob's handball also. It's just
yeah.
like that's pretty much it. But yeah, when your luck's against you, your luck's against you. But I mean, Wolves had enough of a bad season, unfortunately, that they probably don't even deserve that luck at this point. That might be a bit harsh on Wolves fans, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about deserve, but they were you weren't surprised to see it go
no,
against
I
Wolves.
mean, I've been quite like on Wolves' side the whole time this year. I thought giving Pereira that 3-year contract was a good move, but now it also, in hindsight, that doesn't look very good either.
You
So
didn't
it
you
just
didn't have
shows
to
like,
do it. That's
yeah,
my one problem was you just did not have to do it. There was
but it,
no pressure.
but it shows having morals in football just doesn't work time and time again. Do you know what I mean? Like trusting a man that did so well for you the season before, even if it is a bad patch. And yeah, they're probably God knows how much money down the toilet now because of it.
Well, the end of the season proved that like they shouldn't have been doing that. Like they that after that run they stumbled to the finish. Like they got safe and they kind of just took their foot off the gas. It's an expensive time for Wolves paying off all these coaches and making changes to their backroom staff and it's got all these they spent quite a bit of money in the summer. Obviously they had money to spend with the outgoings, but yeah, they didn't sign anyone with Premier League experience, so they've got a very very inexperienced team, like just struggling for any positives really. Let's be interesting to see who they bring in, but
Yeah, yeah, exactly that. But I think let's move on now. Then, do you want to go to Brighton Leeds?
yeah, I think we should start with Brighton before we go to Palace. I know you'd love that.
Yeah, love that. Well, I was in my notes is basically like, yeah, it's scary that Brighton are finding this good form before the El Gatwico or the A23 derby. Yeah, I mean, looked pretty dominant. In all honesty, it should have been more than 3-0. Leeds had a hard game away at the Amex. Like, I think that's going to be hard for any side this season, yeah, let alone a newly promoted side. And I think they fell into the ploys that Brighton want. They want to be countering you, they want to be pressing you, they want you to be passing out from the back, and they want to get players like Minter onto the ball to get in behind you. Minter looked incredible in this game because he was given that
Yeah,
space to go into, and he was given that opportunity to run at the Leeds defence. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, Minto was all over this game from the move for Welbeck's goal throughout the match. Like the pass for Welbeck's goal, the pass from Minto to Weaver is just so beautiful. It's perfectly placed. Like it's delicately like chipped into his path, and then Weaver puts it on a plate for Welbeck. But it was coming. It was coming even so early on. Like they were all over them. They just Leeds could not handle the Brighton's press, and it was
They
a
couldn't at
proper
all, could they?
It was a super high press. Like they were pressing Leeds defenders on and around their box, like from the go. They weren't taking time. There wasn't pressing triggers. They were just like going for them throughout that early period, and it was no surprise that they got that goal. They could have had a couple early on. Leeds had forays. Like, after when it was 1-0 sort of thing. They had a couple of half chances, but this was Brighton comfortable win for them.
Yeah, I think it's this game and the Liverpool Villa game. I watched the highlights or watched the full game in the Liverpool Villa one, for instance. But it was like every attack seemed to start from the opposition's goalkeeper. So it was like every attack I
Mm.
saw seemed to start from Leeds trying to play the ball out from the back, and it was like, oh, Brighton now going to take from this, or it started from like Leeds down the other end, and then Brighton like swarming away. Like it was just, yeah, it was a bit hard to watch as a Palace fan. I'm not going to lie, because it was Brighton at like full tilt doing what they do best, and I was just like, they were swarming almost is the way to put it. Like absolutely
Yeah,
swarming Leeds and like not letting them breathe at all.
they were
And as a
forcing them into mistakes as well, like Bogle's mistake for Gomez's second one, where they're just sort of like they're trying to play around their box and they just leave themselves open. And yeah, Brighton absolutely pounced on them all game.
Yeah, I think the main thing I think Leeds can take away from it is getting out, like I said, just at 3-0. Perry comes up with a big save to stop that Gomez hat trick. I feel like that Gomez has scored what, like 4, 5 goals in what, 2 weeks now, including the cup.
Yeah, he scored. I think he scored loads in the cup. I think he scored about 6 goals in the cup itself. But he's got a couple now. I think three or so in the Premier League. So yeah, he's starting to put things together as well. And just the latest in a long line of talents that come through the Amex.
Yeah, I think this is just one for Leeds to maybe move on from. But then it's patchy what they're doing. Like they went and they didn't have to play that hard to beat you guys a week before. But I think even Leeds fans probably knew what was coming next at the Amex, that they were going to go and get turned over and just not turn up in the next game.
Yeah, well, they've still not scored a Premier League goal away at Brighton in the several meetings that they've had since Leeds have been up and down over the last few years. They've still not scored a goal at the Amex, and yeah, I think I said this last week. It was sort of like they beat West Ham comfortably, but they weren't particularly good. Like they didn't have to do a lot to beat West Ham in that match. And they they're going to have these games where they're just not at the races. The quality of the opposition is too good for them.
They're just outclassed,
Again,
really, as
it's
much
just
as a
go-
pain
it's
to
just
say.
yeah, I think it's just going to be that way for Leeds until the end of the season, though. Like with the makeup of their squad, like the sort of the talent level that they have, what their aims are for this season, they're just going to have weeks like this, I think. And they just at the end of the season, they just got to hope they have more enough weeks where they've got points, really.
Yeah, exactly. Last week on touching Brighton, Danny Welbeck obviously scoring again, 6 goals this season. I think that's what the second or third highest goals this season, behind is it Haaland and Thiago. Just already written on for next Sunday in a derby that he's scoring. Like, can feel it already. So I'm not giving any more praise to Brighton or anything because yeah, it's full derby mode now. In all honesty, so let's be
Right.
honest.
Well, let's go to the other side of El Gatwico. Palace 2, Brentford nil. I'll let you
Yeah.
take it away.
The long throw FC derby, I think, as it got, or the set piece derby in the end of it. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty dominant win in the end. I expected a lot more from Brentford. I was a bit surprised by how direct they were the whole game. I didn't think it would be just. It seemed to be long balls from up to Thiago that weren't sticking because he was getting dominated in all honesty by Lacroix and Gahey and Richards. They didn't really give him a sniff, which I was really impressed by. Them even trying to get in behind, they were closing them down and muscling them off the ball. Damsgaard was kept quiet by Lerma in midfield, who I thought was a complete
Well,
rock. Like,
yeah, on that, I think that for Brentford's side of things, they couldn't find any passing lanes, and
no,
that's probably why they were going long. Like the way that Palace were pressing them and they were man marking players, so they weren't able to. They didn't. Players like Damsgaard didn't have all that time in the world that they had had in some previous matches to pick out passes and to spray balls left and right. The Palace were on them. There was a man in their face at all times, and yeah, this was one way traffic until it was 2-0, and then Palace just decided to take their foot off the gas.
yeah, exactly that. I think Glasner got it right by. I know Wharton got an injury, but probably would have expected Hughes to be in there. But I think Lerma being like an enforcer in there was completely the right decision. I mean, everything was really positive, and yes, dominant win. But first 25 minutes, we tend to like feel out a team to see what's going on. And if Brentford had got a goal in that time, I see them winning this 2-0. I think it was on a knife edge to begin with, but then once we figure out their game plan and we got that goal it was pretty much game over after that. Collins and Henderson, they were rattled in this game. But I think just by like obviously not getting the refs' decisions, not Henderson, Collins, when there was a foul throw by Coyote in the first like 10 minutes, and he was going berserk at the ref, and he just seemed to lose his head with it. Like the rest of the game, I think him and Henderson both got yellow cards for dissent towards the referee. Has his own goal. I think it all just got a bit too much for him on the day for a defender who's usually quite reliable and quite solid for him.
Yeah, I don't think Collins had a good game in this one at all. I think he was especially pissed off later in the match when they were undone by a long throw. I think maybe he thought he was supposed to be attacking it. Like it was one of their. He's so used to them being on the attack and heading in long throws that I think he got his wires confused and accidentally looped this one into his own net. But yeah, a couple of headers. I liked Mateta's sort of flicked loopy header in
Oh,
the first half as well. That was nice.
that was amazing. I'm always up for good headed goals. Like there's one for Christian Benteke against Everton that always stays in my mind where he like curves it round into the post. But this one, we're all there in Homesdale down the end where it was, and you saw the header and it was like, oh, that's going well over, and just the way it loops
Yeah.
over to where Kelleher can't get to it, and Kelleher's even there like looking at it like, oh, if it goes in that, if it dips into that corner, I can't do shit all about this. So yeah, and then the massive leap from Lerma to set it up as well. That was beautiful. And Mateta just using all his energy in his celebration as well. Like looked like his eyes were going to pop out his head during it. Yeah, that was great. Saar getting a lot of joy the whole game. Should have had a goal in the second half after we got the goal from the long throw in, where he's like outmuscled Collins on the ball and hits the post. And that really should have closed the game off completely. And we could have done like wholesale changes. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. We took the foot off the pedal after it was 2-0. A lot of Palace, like pods I listened to, are saying it was smart that we like were conserving energy in the end of the game. I don't really buy that as a thing. I think the players were probably just shattered and didn't have to go and find another goal. So they were like, okay, we'll play within ourselves. I don't think it's a smart, like, yeah, we're recharging while still playing here somehow. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
don't.
that is some very biased thinking of like, wow, the players are so smart and the coaching is so smart that they just decided that they didn't have to do anything for 30 minutes and that Brentford just wouldn't hurt them. Because Brentford did start creating some chances after this. Like it took them until 58 minutes to get their first shot on target, but they did start to create a little bit, but it was just a little bit too late. The quality wasn't particularly there. I think at that point it had started coming down. The rain was
Yeah, the
like it
rain was
looked like a
bad then.
absolute yeah, it looked like a downpour by that point. And then lastly, just a bit of a random one. I had no idea that Reece Nelson had gone on loan to Brentford
I
or had
didn't either
gone to
till he came
Brentford.
on. I didn't know till he came on, and he looked a bit of a bright spark when he came on. But that may also be because he was has a bit of pace, was fully fit, and he was running against players that had been playing 3 games a week for the past 2 weeks,
I,
and he'd
I
been
was
playing
so
three.
surprised when they were like, Reece Nelson is coming on. I was like, he's there?
Oh, but yeah, he did look handy. I'll give him that. Yeah, I don't think there's too much else I want to touch on. Pino seems to be grown into the role after his goal at Liverpool away. Like, yeah, I think that's it. Um, yeah, I think happy to move on
Yeah.
to the some of the draws for the other 14 teams.
Yeah, let's do it. Should we start with Sean Dyche getting a 2-2 draw at Man United at home against Man United?
Yeah, I've to begin with from the Saturday games, this is the one that stood out to me as like the most exciting. I thought, but I think it
Yeah,
was a
this
very
was a really interesting one.
yeah, I think it was a very Dyche performance in the end. When you see the Casemiro goal go in, it's like Forrester kind of stuck a bit here in the Premier League. Like it's not going to get any better, but it seems they've got their confidence back now with Dyche, which maybe wasn't there in the first 30 minutes, but once they got the first goal, it's like, okay, this feels like a Dyche team. This feels like the Forest of old. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah, they looked a lot tougher mentally and physically than they did at any stage under Ange and
Mm.
even early in the season under Nuno. They looked like they, again, similar to what Nuno's win with West Ham on Sunday. Like they had a game plan. Yes, they had an early setback. They should probably do better. But again, back to back weeks, they've had a wrongfully given a corner wrongfully given against them, and I'd be
What
fuming if I was a Forest fan.
What do you think? Because the
I
angle,
don't think the
what's
ball
the
goes out of play.
but the angle doesn't help it, does it? Because the angle is like
Well, the
looking
whole
at.
ball has to go. Yeah, but the whole ball has to go out of play.
I know, but
Do I
this
trust that? Do I trust that the linesman who is 40 yards
no.
away on the other side of the pitch?
I agree it wasn't a corner, but I'm saying the angle that they show is inconclusive as well. Like I know Dyche said like there should be VAR for corners. I think that's a bit far. I think
I don't. I think it took one replay to go. yeah, that probably didn't go out of play.
No, but you
And
couldn't with that one
yeah,
because the angle wasn't conclusive. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I think the first angle were the one that they were showing from behind the goal was worse than the one that was shown like
oh, maybe I
from
haven't
the
seen
front.
that one then. But yeah, I think it's a bit too much to be asking for VAR now because then you get VAR and throw-ins and all that. I think it's one of those that you have to accept as a football fan. It's like when the ball ricochets off a defender, sorry, ricochets off the attacker when the defender's trying to like clear it, and then you get the corner given. It's
Yeah,
there
but I
like
think like
that's part and
this
parcel of
happened
football.
like
Like,
yeah, but like back to back weeks they've had wrongfully given corners. Last week it ended up with Tavernier's Olympico that
yeah,
definitely came off like Tavernier last,
do you not
and
let
then
that
this
sit
one.
in the realm? Do you not let that sit in the realm of these things even amount over the course of the season? That's what I see with that shit happening. I don't get like so annoyed about it that it riles me. It's just they're like, okay, well, we'll get the decision down the line somewhere. Yes, maybe it may not lead to a goal, but yeah, we'll get one up here and there. That's where that
Nah, not
comes into
really.
me. No,
I don't really believe in that.
no.
I definitely don't. I don't think it evens itself out. I think you would see a table of decisions, and they would
Okay.
be like essentially they would probably go similar to how the Premier League table looks. And when you're down, you're not getting those decisions. As Forest struggling to get going, they're not getting that decision. They didn't get it last week. Like
Make it
it's
live in the
just
football cliche world. It evens out over the rest of the season.
rubbish.
Oh, good.
But anyway, back to this one. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they looked much more like they showed some spirit in this one. They got back into the game with Gibbs White header. Why on earth? Like, I mean, Gibbs White's not necessarily strong in the air, but when you're going up against Amad Diallo, you should be winning that header every day of
yeah,
the week. Like, he just
100%.
looks like a young boy playing. Like, you can easily beat him with a header. Credit to Nicholas Savona, man. He's
He's
come
got a
in, looked quite raw, and he's got a absolute poacher's finish in this one.
I was gonna say very scrappy goal, but yeah, he's lucky to be there. That breaks for him to poke it home, doesn't it? Like that's
Well,
all you can really
he
ask.
he follows it in. Like
Yeah,
it's not luck. Like he's followed the ball. Like he's followed it in. He's shown the awareness of what you would expect from a striker to like see where the ball's going to fall. Like Haaland does that shit all the time.
yeah,
Like
true.
for a young Italian defender to do that, who's looked quite raw in his matches. Like he's sort of finding his feet in a new country in a new league. Like for him to do that, I know that's not his responsibility, but for him to be doing that is showing that there's a talented player there.
Yeah, 100%. And then what was it? 2 goals in 3-4 minutes. Forest are looking direct. Forest look like they have their plan. They look like the Forest of old, and it's all pretty rosy. But there's still defensive errors creeping in, especially from corners. Like you're not, I guess you're not going to turn around set pieces instantly, are you? If you're Sean Dyche, but it's got to be something they're looking at, isn't it? I know it's a bit of a screamer from Ahmad in the end, but they should really be doing better. I think.
I
No.
think it's really hard. I think it's hard to criticize them for Ahmad's goal. I think they've got the clearance and legit as like it's the first touch after the clear. Like they've headed clear, edge of the box, just as you're clearing your lines, everyone getting everyone out, and Ahmad's just absolutely scored a beautiful like first time strike. Like I just don't. I think it's really hard to criticize them for that.
To be fair, I'm probably getting more concerned about the
The
first goal
The
than
first
anything.
one for sure, yeah,
Yeah,
and I think I do think it is similar to Nuno. Like we have conceded from corners since he took over. You're not going to fix that overnight. Like it will take time. These are still the same players. They still have the same. They've still got cobwebs that they're dusting off from previous managerial. Like set piece routines and all like defensive drilling. It takes repetition on the training ground. Palace didn't become good overnight at it. Arsenal
no,
aren't going to win the league based off just doing it a few times. These teams, the teams who are good at it, and they drill it over and over and over again. And you know, Dyche has only been there 2 weeks now. Just yeah, so it's going to take time. But you know, you do obviously you want to see them start to get better at that. They're showing the defensive fight again, like Murillo off the line
wait,
in the last few minutes.
I was going to say, I was going to ask you, how important is that clearance off the line? Second time he's done it in 2 seasons against United. They were like putting that all over socials. But how important is that clearance off the line to Sean Dyche? Because we're saying now they've got their confidence back. They look like a better team. I think if that goal goes in, Forest fans are flat. Dyche is not looking like he's in a good position again. It would be like bad times around City ground. Would you agree? I think that clearance is going to mean a lot more come the end of the season than it seems at the moment.
Yeah, if Forest can keep themselves up, I think you'll probably look at this as one of the biggest points of the season. Like, and if that does give them, like, if this result, this performance, that clearance off the line does give them the sort of like confidence to go on a run now, or just to keep picking up, like keep edging away at points, like keep getting a few draws on the round on the bounce and stuff. You'll be looking at that come the end of the season and go, that was absolutely huge, just as it was last year in sort of getting them into a European place. That was a big win. This is a big point. Like to have lost that in the last few minutes would have been an absolute sucker punch.
It would have been a kick in the teeth, especially when they got Leeds coming up next as well. Well, that's a huge 6-pointer. It's you look back at that and be like, yeah, that was a turning point. But
yeah. I think they deserved a draw as well.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, I'd agree with you there, 100%. Cool. Do you want to move on to Sunderland Everton, the Monday night game?
Yeah. What do you think about? So, is Everton 1-1, Sunderland? What do you think about the first goal?
Well, I was going to say before that this was the most game of two halves game I've watched in a long time, for sure.
It really was, for sure.
Goal, I don't think it's a foul, and I do think it's... do you think it's foul? I don't think it's foul. I thought it would have been harsh. But then I think what Ndiaye does afterwards, I think it's maybe... We may be sanitised to, like, good dribbling goals. But I'm there like, that was crazy good, but it's not as visually pleasing as some dribbled goals that lead to a finish, if you know what I mean. It seems like the ball's kind of like behind him at points, and he's kind of like fumbling his way through to then a great finish, rather than like, I think in your head you think of Maradona going through like England, it's all like perfect touch. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, I don't think it's Maradona-esque, but it is it's a really nice goal, like an amazing run. I do agree. Like there's also not that many challenges being put in. He kind of does get like just bounces off a couple of people, but no one actually sticks a foot in and tries to get on the ball. They're kind of like all worried about fouling him.
Yeah,
but I think they were a little bit lucky that it wasn't called for a foul. Like I think
it would have been harsh if that was your team and that got given as a foul. You'd be raging, wouldn't you? That's the glasses I put on for that, I think.
Yeah, probably. Maybe I'm just a bit sensitive to them giving decisions that I just feel like I feel like they give quite a lot these days, and I was surprised that they didn't give that when it happened, because like at first glance it looked like it takes the player out. Like I think the reaction from the player probably sells it quite a lot, and maybe sells it too much. The ref, every now and then the refs go, oh, I don't believe that. Like, and I think it's probably, you see them give them.
Yeah, I think Sunderland weren't getting any decisions in the first half either as well. Like
they were proper frustrated about that.
Yeah, really. But that thing was, they were frustrated and Everton were cruising. Barry misses from point blank range, and they should have had to.
He has to score that.
He has to score that. Like, the only thing is he's leaning back, but also you don't really know why he's leaning back, because it's not like he's getting any players on him or anyone tugging him back. He's just late to the ball, I'm guessing, and just scoops it over. And I think Roofs was put through the ringer a bit in that first half. Like, nothing too crazy, but he was having to pull out saves here and there.
It was one way traffic, wasn't it? Like Grealish was on top form. Like
on form. It was just
Dewsbury Hall, Garner had a really nice long shot. Like
he nearly scored in the first 10 seconds, doesn't he? Like that goal. I think Everton then do go on and get a few more on that, because it's got to be a real sucker punch. But then, then we get to the second half and Sunderland come out with a rocket up their arse. It seems like it was chalk and cheese compared to the first half. I know Xhaka gets a big deflection for his goal, but you're not getting a goal if you're not shooting from there. And Sunderland should have had more in the second half. Like they've done well to get a shot off and get another deflection where Pickford has to have to do a reaction save. Not the hardest reaction save ever. I mean, he ends up punching it away, doesn't he? Because it like loops up nicely for him. But they were under the pump, Everton, after that, weren't they?
Yeah, Sunderland grew into this one, and I think they got a rocket up their arse at half time. They were like, we are better than what we've shown in the first 45. They were getting like they were playing a bit sloppy in the first half. They were losing the ball, and they weren't creating chances. They had plenty of possession in the first half to do something, but they weren't doing anything with it. And I think at half time they really came out and was like, let's be much more decisive, like get the ball to players like Bertrand Traore, Enzo Lafay, like let's make things happen in and around the box. Let's take the chances. Let's find that like put the ball in the box for Isidore and stuff. Like they were they were a lot more not direct, but like they were as I say, they were taking those chances. They were putting the ball in the box rather than in the first half they were kind of dilly dallying and then getting caught on the counter kind of thing. So yeah, I another one. I think this was a deserved draw, like you said, like
Yeah,
really like 50-50 match, like tale of two halves. Like Sunderland, yes, were pressing in the second half. They probably could have got another one, but at the end of 90 minutes, I was like, yeah, a draw seemed fair.
yeah, I would agree with that as well. It does seem like a draw all over. Not too much to take more from that game. I guess we could talk about like the atmosphere there. It seems like if they get once they got the goal, it seemed like one-way traffic and everything. But I do think that atmosphere is going to play a big part from all season. But I feel like I say that every pod about Sunderland. So yeah, let's move on to then losses for the other 14 sides this weekend. Do you want to start with the City Bournemouth one?
Yeah, yeah, I think this was sort of the one out of the three losses for the other 14 that they were most in it, I think. Like I
Yeah,
think Bournemouth created chances in this one. Like Krupi goes like early on. Krupi has a goal ruled out for offside. Like he just goes a bit too early. I think that's
yeah,
probably youth playing its part there. Like just doesn't have the sort of experience, the nous to be like, oh, I need to hold my run a little bit because it's like he's just ahead of the ball. Like there's not a defender near him. He's like if he just held his run, he would have. The ball's even cut behind him when he gets there in the 6 yard box. Like so, he didn't need to be ahead of the ball at all. He would have still been able to like easily run onto it and tap it in if he'd have just checked his run a little. But I do. Whilst also I think that Bournemouth were in this game. I think going forward they were pretty good throughout. Defensively, I think they were all over the place.
well, yeah, I think it was brave from Bournemouth to go to City and kind of go, okay, we're maybe going to go toe to toe with you here. We're going to play a high line, and then, yeah, that high line just didn't work because
I
Haaland,
mean, I
Haaland
mean
was just getting in behind.
both Haaland goals are like a mirror of each other, like one happening on one side of the pitch and one happening on the other side of
Yeah,
the pitch. But both of them are like the defenders, Diakite and Senesi, just going absolute ball hunting, and just Haaland just having the space in behind them. So like when you play up against City, who are so good at like one touch passing, that like they can cut through you in a space of a second. If you make that one step forward and like if you go on the aggressive and they find that angle to play a pass around you
you're done.
with Haaland, you're done for. Like
Yeah,
these two goals were probably the most Dortmund like Haaland that I've seen him play like in the Premier League, like because Bournemouth gave him 30-40 yards in behind their defence to run into. Like a lot of teams don't go to City and do that, and that could have played a part in why I think they were pretty good going forward because the midfield was really aggressive. Adams was just pouncing on everyone. Like they were tenacious in midfield throughout this game, but I think there was maybe a little bit too front foot at times and led
but
to why there were gaps in defence.
if you're Bournemouth, the way you played the season, and you what they would have gone second if they'd won this game as well. Like, why not go into City this way? Like, why feel like you have to sit back? It's worked against other teams, so why not give it a go? I mean, if they're at the time again, I'm guessing Arrow will go there and be like, probably shouldn't have done that. I'll take a more defensive stance on it. But I would say way on
Yeah, I
table, go
mean,
for it.
it's a complete free hit for Bournemouth at
Yeah,
this stage of the season with how they've been playing, with where they are in the league. Like, I know they've dropped down to fifth after this weekend. There's quite a few teams in and around each other with like 1 or 2 points separating them, sort of thing. So it's still so early. There's going to be a lot of fluctuation. Like, I think they just saw this one as a free hit and were like, let's try and play our game and how we want to play if we end up coming up, like if we end up losing, then like no one expected us to win in this one anyway. So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I don't think this was a damaging defeat for Bournemouth by
No,
any
not at all.
chance.
Not at all. I think it shows how far they've really come this season, and hopefully it's not. I don't think it'll be a damaging result, and they'll change how they play. They'll just be one like, give it a go, move on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
Any
like
more
that,
you want to say
maybe.
about that?
No, I think we should move on as well with the next loss for the other 14 FC team. Liverpool Villa. I mean, I don't really have a lot of notes on this one, if I'm being honest. I think the game was over after the Martinez mistake. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what was going on with Martinez in this game. Both goals, I think he's partially or very much responsible for. So the first one where he assists Mo Salah, just
Yeah.
absolutely passes it directly to him,
I
and
think it's still a good finish, to be fair.
it's a good
Like,
finish, but
yeah, but
it's
it's
for Mo
bad.
Salah, it's a tap in. Like for
Yeah,
someone that good, it's a tap in.
yeah,
And then the second one, he just takes an absolute age on the ball. And Emi Martinez is not someone who I've ever had down as good on the ball for a
no.
goalkeeper.
But
He's an insane shot stopper.
he loves being slow on the ball. I don't know if this is a tactic that Emery gives him, but a few times we played Villa last year, they would just like he would stand on the ball for like a minute, waiting for someone to come, and they'd be like, "Well, I think they were doing it when they're like 1-0 down to us, and we were there like, okay, mate, stand on the ball. We don't really care. Like you can waste your own time." And I don't know if it's a tactic of
Well,
theirs.
he did it in this one when they were 1-0 down. So it must
I
be
think it's a tactic. They want someone to come for the ball or people to move forward so they can knock it over the top.
yeah. Well,
Watkins run onto.
it's the
But
old Brighton fashion tactic of your centre back standing on the ball and hoping that someone commits. It's
mm,
interesting to do it with your goalkeeper, who's not particularly good with his feet.
no. But like I said, this one felt like every Liverpool attack started from Villa restart, and yeah, for the form Villa have been in, it's kind of a bit of a shame for them to hit this brick wall, especially against a Liverpool team that had been doing so badly in recent games as well. It was a very unexpected loss. I think. I think a lot of us were expecting it to be at least a game, but it just didn't feel like it. Didn't feel like a game at all. It felt like Villa almost surrendered to Liverpool without needing to, which is mad.
Yeah, I think they had a few counter attacks. They had some shot from distance, like a couple from Morgan Rogers.
Was he hit the
There was a
post quite early, didn't he? Yes. There's a
deflected one from
cash.
Cash. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, so like, I think they could have got another day. They might have been able to press a little bit more on that, but I do think that they were probably second best in this game, and yeah, just kind of once they got behind it, it didn't particularly feel like they were going to have enough to get back into it. It was just sort of like kind of going through the motions. Maybe they just don't like playing at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. Any one from my wrestling fans out there, there was a moment where Unana had a vintage DDT on McAllister in the game, which I thought was pretty funny. But yeah,
God,
that
I'm the nerd.
that is brilliant. But yeah, I don't think there's much to talk, anything else to talk on. Villa, hopefully that's just a blip for them. They can get back onto the form they're on. I'll move on to the final game, Burnley Arsenal. Like I've said about most Arsenal
Yeah,
games, just boring. Goal from a set piece. Burnley had nothing in this game at all because Arsenal didn't let them, I guess. What was it? Marcus Edwards hits the post at the end of the game. That's the most I took out of this. Anything you want to take on it?
I thought they looked okay when they were organised, but when they weren't, like undone on the counter at the corner, they didn't look particularly organised. Like for the counter for the second one, like that's sort of what undid them in this match. I thought generally they looked all right when they were defensively solid. Like they were in their positions, they were doing what they needed to do. But yeah, I think we said before this one, this was just sort of one to chalk off. I don't think any Burnley fan was expecting to get anything from this, and it was very much attack versus defence for most of the game. So I don't have much else to say on it.
Nah, my only thing I'd say from a Burnley perspective is Arsenal is second team to leave Turf Moor 3 points in the last 18 months. That's a mad stat. Like, that's crazy. I hope that's right from what I heard. But yeah, that's what I'll give them.
Yeah, well, sorry, Burnley fans, but I don't think they'll be the last team to leave with 3 points this season.
But cool. Okay, let's take a break there and move on to Pete Barclays. Okay, and we're back. So, Tom, who do you have for Pete Barclays for us this week?
So, Stoke City's long throw legend, Tony Pulis's human sling, the Britannia Stadium's javelin thrower. It's the godfather of long throw-ins, Rory Delap.
We've been holding off on this one a bit, haven't we? Because we didn't really want to fall into the long throw trend.
Well, you
But
particularly are sort of annoyed at this whole long throw trend.
I'm not annoyed by it. To be fair, I get annoyed by anything the media pick up each season to be like the thing of the season. It's like, well, people have been doing long throws for years, haven't they? So it's not really like the thing that was. It's a thing that's in fashion this year. But yeah, I mean, we should really go back to the man that started it all, or the man that was most known for it. And Tony Pulis getting called a dinosaur at the time for using Roy Delap by like people like Arsene Wenger, like hated it and just couldn't defend it. But yeah, Roy with
Yeah.
an absolute rocket launcher catapult of an arm.
Yeah, so give him some stats. He played 359 times in the Premier League. He scored 23 goals and had 21 assists. A lot of those coming from a throw.
Do the throws count as assists?
Yeah, yeah.
I thought we had more,
Yeah.
more than.
Yeah, well, so he started out his first spell in the Premier League came with Southampton. At the time, it was a £4 million club record signing, which was held until 2012 when they signed Jay Rodriguez. Played for Southampton between 2003 and 5, and then had a short spell. He reached the FA Cup final in 2003 with them and scored a bicycle kick in a 1-0 win over Spurs for Southampton. And then he had a bit of a horrible time of it at Sunderland for a season or so. He had a really bad clash of heads with teammate George McCartney in a game versus Fulham.
I don't remember him at Sunderland at all. Is that bad?
It was really brief, and it was the season they got relegated. He made a couple of appearances and then was out for the season based after this injury. So I don't think you're expected to remember his time at Sunderland at all. Essentially, the next season when they were in the Championship, Roy Keane took it in and just said, "You're not really in my plans." So off he went to Stoke. He broke his leg while on loan at Stoke, but Tony Pulis had clearly seen enough and signed him permanently. And then, he goes on to become the throw-in king.
It's mad, isn't it? He has an obsession with teams that play in red and white stripes. Yeah. I think this is Rory Delap. This story is for, but I think it was a training session where they were just messing around with the balls, and Tony Pulis saw him do it, and some coach saw him do it, and they were like, got Tony Pulis over, and they're like, Rory, do that again. And he saw him throw it like halfway over the pitch. He was like, why didn't you tell me you could do that? I was like, didn't know you needed to know you could do that. He was like, we're going to use that on the weekend now. Is that Rory Delap that's for, or is it someone else?
When I was doing my research earlier, they essentially it went like they were having a sort of small-sided match in training, and Delap just did a long throw into the box, and Tony Pulis the next day was like, do that again. Like we're gonna try like see how far we can push this essentially. And some stats about his long throw-ins that I found, they range from 30 to 40 meters, could reach up to 37 miles per hour. As I mentioned,
no way. 37 miles per hour.
Allegedly 37 miles per hour at their fastest. David Moyes called him the human sling. Whole goalkeeper Boaz Myhill once put the ball out for a corner instead of giving him a throw-in, which you just never see.
That was mad. That is like top Pete Barclays moment, isn't it? Right there.
Yeah, 100%. That is on every like Pete Barclays like montage. And then teams tried putting the advertising boards closer or an extra set of them to stop his space, but didn't work. And my random fact for him is that he took part and won Chef Marco Pierre White's contest called Stoke Kitchen. Not entirely sure what Stoke Kitchen is, but I think it was a charity contest that he won.
Okay, fair enough. I was going to say that is very random. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But yeah, where do you want to put him on our Pete Barclays? I feel like he's got to be a little bit higher than we'd expect, just because he is so synonymous now with like the Premier League and that area of the Premier League as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Are we saying below Matty Taylor?
Who's under Matty Taylor?
Ugo Ehiogu and then Gravison.
Who's above Matty Taylor?
Jussi Jääskeläinen and Morten Gamst Pedersen.
I'd put him under. Oh, I'll put him under him. Yeah. Oh no, I might put him above Matty Taylor. Is that
Above
Rowe?
Matty Taylor? No,
Yeah.
no, I think that's fair. I think that's
Yeah.
fair. Let's go, yeah, slot Rory Delap in at number 7.
Nice. Cool. We'll have got to get a graphic of that out hopefully this week or next week for the listeners, so they know what we're
Yes.
at now. I'll work on that. Cool. Okay, let's move on to predictions then. It's another one of those game weeks where it is just a plethora of games on a Sunday, but at least there's no Monday night game. That's the main thing. Cool.
There
So
is no Monday
starting
night game.
Everton, Fulham, Hill Dickinson. Oh, I don't know. This is one that you'd hope as a Fulham fan you can build on the Wolves win, but I can only really. I'm gonna go for a draw, 1-1.
I think Everton at home, they'll bounce back and they'll be good. I think they're going to win 2-1.
West Ham, Burnley, the other Saturday, 3:00. I'm...
I was waiting for you to be a dick about that.
I really want to be like Burnley win, but I think it's probably your turning point, isn't it? It's going to be a scrappy 1-0 win for West Ham, I reckon.
We're back. I'm going 3-0. Why the fuck not?
I can't wait.
It's gonna bite me in the ass.
I think if it was at Turf Moor, I'd be more inclined for the Burnley, like getting something. But I just
Yeah.
think London Stadium, West Ham might be rocking again, maybe. Or yeah, you know what I mean. Cool. Sunderland Arsenal, the 5:30 on Saturday. This is one for me that I'm unsure about because it's kind of not the immovable object versus like the unstoppable force, but it's one where I'm looking at like if Arsenal go away and win this one comfortably, then I'm worried they're going to win the league, and I'm going to be very annoyed because I hate all the Arsenal fans I work with.
I think I'm going to go 1-1. I think Sunderland.
I want to go 1-1, but I think it's going to be 1-2 Arsenal. Yeah, I'm really worried it's going to be like that because I think Sunderland away, like I said before, is a massive test for anyone this season. So yeah, it's real like a proving ground for them. Cool. Chelsea Wolves. I mean, we can't really tell with this one, can we? Apart from it's probably going to be a Chelsea win.
Yeah, we don't know what Wolves are going to turn up, who's going to be in the dugout, unless it's the caretakers. But I do still think Chelsea will probably, regardless, have enough quality to win that one. I'd probably say 2-0.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that. Villa Bournemouth, quite an interesting one actually. I think Bournemouth will bounce back, but I don't think they'll bounce back completely. I think Villa will bounce back. I think they'll both bounce back, so bounce back ability there. Quoting in
So
now,
neither team bounces back.
Yeah. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, Desmond.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth. Let's go double Desmond.
Double Desmond. Cool. Brentford, Newcastle. It's another hard one to call, actually. I think Newcastle's going to have a bad time in the capital again. Probably 2-1 Brentford.
Yeah, I'm not until I see Newcastle put some form together away from home. I won't be backing them. So Brentford's 1-0.
Cool. El Gatwico, all at A23 derby. 5-0 Palace. Move on. No, I think it's going to be different because we've had quite a few good results and they've been quite exciting games the last few seasons. Well, not seasons, last season. As a Palace fan, they're both exciting. Maybe not if you're a Brighton fan. But I think this is going to be a grotty 1-1.
I think you might edge it. I think we'll go Palace 2-1.
Yeah, I'd be well happy with that. And you'll probably see how hungover I am if we win next Monday. Cool. And then Forest Leeds. Hard one to call. I think Forest are probably going to win this one, and Sean Dyche is going to get his first 3 points. Probably 3-1 Leeds. That might be a bit harsh on. No, 3-1 Forest.
3-1 Forest.
A bit harsh on Leeds.
Yeah.
A bit harsh on Leeds, but I don't see him doing anything there.
Yeah, I think Forest are going to be in their face and try and bully them in this one as much as they can do. So I think I'm probably going to go a 1-0 win for Forest.
Nice, cool. Okay, so yeah, That's it for this week then, I guess. Feel free to rate, review the podcast, tell your friends. Feel free to get in contact, any voice notes, anything you want to send us through about how your team performs on the weekend or how we talk absolute shit about your team. Feel free to get in contact. Then feel free to follow us on socials at Other14FC Podcast on Instagram, TikTok and Blue Sky Reddit, and email in at other14fcpodcast@gmail.com. But otherwise, catch you guys next week.